How's it going, everyone? Joey here. I am joined by Jake. I am joined by Tris, and we can't stop playing The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It has been a week. I feel like this release snuck up on me in a way. Like, Jake's playing it right now. He can't stop. I kind of feel like this release snuck up on me, kind of, even though we've known about this game for 4 years, right? But to me, you all know I wasn't really that excited for the game because I'm like, it's the same Hyrule, blah, 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 blah. So I was just like, I'll just be excited when I play it. And now I'm playing it. And sometimes it doesn't sit with me yet that, oh, wow, I'm playing a new Zelda game. That's crazy. This game is absolutely nuts. I think we all love it here. Jake, just general thoughts. How much have you played? How are you feeling about the game so far?
I've played several hours. I've been quite busy with other things, so I'm not as far along as everybody else. But I've been like it's like coming back. It's like making me so philosophically, I'm like reflecting about how my life is different than it was when I played Breath of the Wild and how that might be like affecting my perception of things. So it's been like a cool, like weirdly nostalgic experience for this game that isn't that old. Kind of like coming back to it, seeing it in a new lens. I've got so much I'm excited to talk about, but I'm really excited to hear from both of you being so much further ahead than I am.
Yeah, Tris, you can start there. Like, you're probably the furthest of whatever that means. There's not really like a linear path this game follows.
Yeah.
Like, I got to all 4 dungeons, but I didn't get the Master Sword yet, which Tris got. So, yeah, we're all like kind of just in different parts of the game, essentially.
Yeah.
So before Tris, before you answer that, do we want to lay down our spoiler rules?
True.
Yeah, let's do that real quick.
Okay.
Let's do that real quick.
So basically, gameplay-wise, if for some reason you haven't played the game yet, and you don't want to know there are dungeons, sorry, I just spoiled that for you, but I think at this point you should know by now. So I think, just for spoiler rules, we're not going to talk about anything major in the story that's beyond, like, the Great Sky Island, or like what happens after you beat the dungeons and whatnot. We're pretty much not going to talk about what you get from the dungeons either, although most of you probably know we just want to be super safe there. So if you're still like playing the game, if you haven't beaten it yet, you're still safe. We're not going to get into any like end game stuff or anything that happens like major plot points story-wise, if that makes sense. We haven't even
beaten it yet.
Exactly.
So we can't even talk about that yet.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll be pretty safe story-wise, but gameplay-wise, it's going to be a little bit shaky. But you know, it's been a week. You've had time. Yeah. So Tris, how you feeling? You're the big Zelda fan here, so tell us why this is your game of the century.
You know, I think what's really interesting is you mentioned the idea of the progression, how we can't really... It's kind of hard to grasp who's further along, because you're right, I got the Master Sword, but you've been to all the dungeons, I've only been to one dungeon.
Yeah.
So it's really different. It's really different, the sense of progression there, because the way they divide up the idea of the main quests. Like, I followed the quest to go check out the different glyphs, so that, you know, led me in a completely different direction than people that went and focused in on the different element of the main story quest that led you to the different dungeons and all that. I've done one, and I really, really like the one that I did. And I really enjoy the experience that I've gotten out of this so far. But to say I'm further along, I feel like is really hard to say for sure. I mean, Joey, both you and I, rather early in our experience, went to Hyrule Castle for different reasons, for guides, pretty much. Because I went to get the Champion's Tunic after finding like a side quest from like Zelda's Journal, which you can find very early in the game.
First of all, people say like that's Zelda's house now. It was my house first. It was Link's house first, and she just straight up like, "Hey Link, thanks for saving me. I'm gonna take this house." Darn.
Did you see the picture of the horse in there? Did you see that yellow horse?
Yes.
I love that place. That place rules. I was like, I didn't even realize it was Zelda's house. I was just like, who has this golden horse?
That's a horse you can get to if you follow a story quest. Not a story quest, a side quest. So I'll have to tell you about that.
In this one?
Yes.
I'm taking notes during this discussion. I'm taking notes. All right. Wait, I have a question for Tris. Tris, you came off the preview so hot, so excited for this game. Now you've put a considerable amount of hours in. Has it delivered? Are you just like up in a sky island with hype right now? What's the feeling? What's the emotional feeling?
I chose this background behind me intentionally. Yeah. No, I'm definitely like way up there. Like I can't have a picture. I'm over the moon with this game, honestly. Like everything I've experienced so far, outside of like the occasional like criticism that I even had back with Breath of the Wild, I am thoroughly enjoying this game, and it is delivering on like every aspect I wanted, even back in Breath of the Wild, in ways I didn't even realize at first. Like, people that follow me on Twitter have seen me posting clips of like fighting like giant enemies, and just the thrill of fighting these enemies is so much more than I got from fighting like Lionels and Hinoxes in Breath of the Wild. Those were cool, but there's like an epic energy to fighting some of the giant bosses in the world this time that I didn't quite feel before. So even on that level, it's delivering in ways I didn't even realize I wanted.
Yeah.
Ooh, so big surprise in the combat. Joey, have you had kind of like a big surprise? Have you had something that you didn't expect and you've either really liked it or really not liked it?
Yeah, here's a game, not really a gameplay spoiler, because like I said, if you've been playing the game for a week, you should know by now the depths are a thing.
Oh gosh, the depths.
That shook me. I was like, what? Because I remember hearing like maybe there was underground. I don't know if it was a leak beforehand. I don't know if it was just pure speculation that there would be.
It was the commercial. Joey, it was the leaked commercial. That's what they had, that little underground area. Now we know. Not only can you go up, you go down in the Zelda game.
You go deep down.
You go down.
And even though the commercial did like say that, I still maybe thought, okay, maybe there's just like one small like hole you go down. It's not a whole underground system, right?
Right.
And I haven't explored it too much. I've explored it a bit, maybe about an hour, maybe 2 hours total. I would say I still feel like I haven't even like scratched the surface or scratched the depths, I should say, of just what's down there. I know like the enemies are different too. This time they take away your hearts and you can't get them back until like you go up to the surface or you find one of those light things. But Jake, you said you explored it for several hours, so I want to hear your thoughts on the depths as well.
I don't know what was wrong with me, but there was like the only night I've had so far since getting this game where I could really stay up late playing it. For some reason, I was like, I'm doing 4 or 5 hours in the depths.
Wow.
I don't know why, but that's just what happened. And I think there's probably, it felt like I entered the game at the end of a quest line, because there's probably a point where it kind of pushes you towards the depths and says, hey, go in the depths here. And I was just out in the world being a big dum-dum. The game kind of tells you which dungeon to go to first, and I decided I was going to throw caution to the wind. And I said, I have to go see the Gorons, and nothing is going to stop me. So that's kind of where I went to first in the game. And I think it was on my way there, I see Big Hole. And I see Big Hole, I must go down. I simply must. I simply must.
I need to stress, like, that the presentation of the very first time, wherever it is,
hysterical.
The very first time you enter into the depths, that like droning music starting to kick in as you get like some sort of view, depending on where you enter. It's either complete pitch black view, maybe you see a couple like the glowing like fires, or maybe you see like where you enter and there's like a campfire set just there. That first moment, dropping down into the depths, insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Tris, you literally have one of your little glowy flower things and you go, surely it will hit a wall. Surely it will hit a wall. And it just keeps going. So, the depths are awesome. So I go down into the depths, and the reason why I spent so many hours in there is I felt like I was getting away with murder. You have to understand, I have like 5 hearts. So when I'm down there and I'm like doing work, I'm like killing bokoblins left and right, I'm taking things out, I'm getting resources, and then I get skeleton horse. You know about bony horse?
Yep, the skeleton horses.
Bone horse is not affected by dangerous goop. So you can just go. And I felt like a criminal on the run, and I was like, I can't stop my depths run. I am simply finding too much success. So I find the ability that we get down there. I do that whole quest line. I do that little boss battle, by the way, which was lit as heck.
That was a great boss. That was a great boss.
Reminded me of Batman Arkham Knight, but in a good way. But then, like, you're adventuring down there longer. You find little areas that are like, oh, you can build little vehicles here. We'll give you all the parts. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna keep going. And then you find really crazy little secrets in there, things that are talking to you all of a sudden. And I love the depths. Big fan of the depths. I think it exposes a couple of my criticisms with the game, but I don't care because I feel like the vibes are off the charts. And I think something, the beginning of a game of this kind of game, plus the beginning of Breath of the Wild, they do this thing at the beginning before you have all of your resources figured out, before you have all of your hearts and your stamina, where you feel like you have to keep your head in the game. And I think, you know what I mean? It's like you have to have guts. You have to, never in the game do they tell you can pretty much beat any combat encounter if you just go for it. If you just run at that enemy, get in their face, you have a human brain that can react to things. They do not. And I think that feeling, that beginning of the game feeling combined with the depths was a really exciting twist on what you got in Breath of the Wild when you had never played the game before and you were a little scared of every blue bokoblin,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like it's harder too. Like I feel like Link takes punches way worse now in this, and I don't know if that's just because I haven't upgraded my armor that much. I feel like it's more difficult to upgrade your armor in this game. For one, you have to do all this instrument like band stuff to unlock the Great Fairies. I'm trying to get my champion tunic upgraded, but I need to get a scale from that dragon that's so high in the sky, almost impossible to get to. I found out there's a main quest that lets you get it easier, but still, it's just, I feel like I have to keep making recipes that increase defense and just recipes in general that refill your hearts and stuff. I'm definitely on a all heart run. That's the number one thing I'm getting is the hearts with those, all those shrines. I was hoping that it wouldn't have to come to that again. I was hoping that maybe the amount of shrines you need are less, or instead of 4 orbs you need 3 instead. But that's not the case here. You still got to do 4 shrines in order to get a stamina increase, a heart increase. In the end, I don't feel like it's too bad. I just kind of wish it was, I don't know, easier in that
Joey,
sense.
do you not like the shrines? Is this you saying you don't like the shrines?
I have a love-hate relationship with the shrines. There's a part of me that wants to explore the world, just explore, and there's another part of me that does want to beat the shrines so I can increase my stamina and my hearts. And I feel like they're at odds. They clash with each other. I still think the shrines are cool. There's some really good shrines. One of my favorite ones is one where you have to connect bridges to each other using Ultra Hand, and I thought this is a jolly good time. But I find it odd when I'm how many hours in the game? 20 maybe? And I come across a trial shrine that teaches you how to use your shield. Very odd.
Can I give you my defense for that? I've thought about this too, Joey. I think I have a defense for it. I think that there is a lot of cumbersome control stuff in this video game.
Seriously.
Yeah, and I think that this game is having a war with itself where it's either going, okay, we're gonna give you everything at once really, really fast, here you go, we're not gonna explain any of it too much, and trying to stretch that out. And I think what's happening here is obviously it's non-linear, and that's kind of why you're getting these things in the order you're getting them, but I also think that maybe it's not so bad to just be several hours into the game and get reminded. And to be, you know what I mean? And get to, even if maybe you didn't know this thing before, maybe you already did, but just for something in the game to go, hey, you can parry. And I go, oh yeah, I can't parry. Because you know what's happening to me?
That's the last shrine I did, pretty much.
Okay,
was that one.
The thing that's happening to me is I'm playing the game and I have an alarm set to my phone now to go off on the hour every hour to go, Jake, remember you can ascend.
Yes.
And
I never forget that. Because Ascend's my favorite. I freaking love Ascend. And what I kind of forget about is Fuse a bit, but lately I've been remembering it a lot because, oh man, we're already kind of getting into criticisms right now. So let me tell you one.
That's okay.
I used to be an avid defender of weapon durability. I hate it now. It sucks.
Really?
It's awful. It's terrible.
Tell me why.
I hate how it does. I hate how it's handled in Tears of the Kingdom because for one, all the traditional weapons, like the sword, not the Zonai weapons, but and not the Bokoblin wooden weapons either, but all the metallic weapons are rusted now because of the upheaval in the game. And I get why they did that to encourage, not force, encourage. It's forced. Forces you to use Fuse to make those weapons better. And I just hate that every time I have to get a degraded weapon, I have to be okay, I can't use this until I go into my menu, I drop a Zonai device thing, or not a Zonai device, but one of the horns that an enemy drops.
Right,
and then
right.
I have to. I can't just go do it from my menu. I have to drop it, and then I have to switch to fuse, and then I have to press Y.
Oh yeah, you're right. You do have to drop it.
It could definitely be a lot less cumbersome for sure to be able to fuse things. Like it would be a lot better to have the option to do that in the menu and kind of do it how you want. On the weapon specifically though, and I realize this because you haven't explored the depths. In the depths, you find the non-corroded weapons rather frequently, actually. Rather frequently. There are literally like ghosts of soldiers standing on like pillars, and they like deliver to you, like they're holding it out, like the non-corroded weapons. And you can get it from them. They have like a little like sparkle in the name, and they're the versions of the weapons from Breath of the Wild that are better.
But even then, it's just the fact that most of them are corroded anyway. I've only come across 2 of those dudes in the depths in all my time exploring the depths. So yeah, I don't know. I'm on the side of just weapon durability sucks, and I would have been fine with it if they gave us an option to, like, give us a blacksmith. Where was the blacksmith?
Yeah.
I thought, like, when I saw the gameplay footage, the 10-minute gameplay footage, that fuse would be, like, a way to, like, rebuild those weapons, like, not something you have to use often, but you have to use it all the frickin' time if you want. Not even just the non-corroded weapons. Most of them are weak with their attack unless you fuse it with something, and it's just a cumbersome process. And it's either way, like, all the criticisms I have with this game don't like completely obliterate my enjoyment of it, right?
Right.
But there's a lot that's cumbersome about this system. And Jake and I were talking about it yesterday. Throwing stuff is completely overcomplicated.
That is way more complicated than it needs to be. I was talking to my partner about this yesterday, and it's like, I feel like, you know how you could press like left or right on the D-pad to swap your shield or your swords, and you can press up to open the material menu. But I think from pressing up, if you have a button to drop, there should literally just be a button to throw with that menu open.
Yes.
Like, press the R button while that menu is open, and you're just ready to throw it.
Why doesn't that work, Triss?
That should be it.
It is so insane that they said the way we want to do this is that you need to have Link go, and then go, oh, now I got it. Like,
yeah,
what?
It's weird. That's awkward. It's awkward.
It's bizarre. It's really bizarre. Yeah, I think like that's about the worst of it for like the criticisms. But I guess another thing I have is like, there are memories in the game. If you didn't know that, sorry, but you should have. If you did Impas, just do some main adventures, guys. Come on, like
Joey. I told everybody back when we did our preview. I said I had all the answers. I said there were memories in the game, so they already know.
They already know. You're right.
They already know.
That's true. You're right.
Like on one hand, the memories in this game are better than in Breath of the Wild. I think like there's better like characters in there. There's a scene where one of them gets super angry because of something tragic that happens. And I'm like, oh man, yes, get angry, dude, do it. Feel some emotion.
Yeah.
But they're out of order. That's so annoying. Like it was like the memories in Breath of the Wild as well. Like they were out of order. That one was more forgivable, I'd say, because a lot of the events that happen in them are more so self-contained, except for like the last 2. But here it's just like I would have preferred if these memories were in order. Like the first memory you get, it's like the very first memory, but everything after that, it's just like one of the characters is already like. It's just something happens to them, and it's just like, oh, would have liked to see that before watching this one. Thanks. So, yeah, overall memories are better, but they needed to be in order somehow. Like that's just nuts.
Yeah, I do like the fact that there are memories in this case, because I think I was learning that there were memories. I was worried it was going to be like, is Link going to learn? Is this going to be, instead of fixing his amnesia, this is going to be what happened at the time he was unconscious again? I was worried it was going to be that. I like what they are this time, but I do agree a little bit more order would be nice. There is a sense of following Impa's quest that goes to them. You do get a sense of an order, but it's not spelled out to you as nicely as it could have been.
It's not spelled out at all, I think. I couldn't tell.
I think Impa should have given you a recommended order that she intends to check them out. And I think that would have made that a lot better.
That's
Yeah.
Because if they want to go find it out of order, yeah, you could totally go do that. But otherwise, it gives you kind of like how, your Pura recommends you go to Rito Village first for your first main story quest. I would have liked if Impa did the same kind of thing of, this is the path we're going to take to go explore these glyphs if you would like to do the same.
Yeah, Tris, that's cool. They could have even showed it on your map with like a line between each one. They could have, you know what I mean? And that could have been like a path from one to the next to the next to the next. I think that's a really good idea. I'm wondering now, just hearing this from both of you, do you feel like, I've been playing this game and I feel like it is at war with itself in terms of the go anywhere, do anything, like in any order. I'm not seeing how the do anything in any order is like helping this game structurally, or I also feel like its narrative conceit is completely different from Breath of the Wild, where you wake up, you have amnesia. Not only are you, several different aspects of that game are about discovery. And now this game, like, sometimes pretends it's about discovery and has some like carryover from Breath of the Wild where it's like, yeah, it's about that. But the narrative conceit is not at all about that. And I feel like sometimes it's trying to shoehorn in this stuff and then it doesn't fit, like these memories, getting them out of order. And I almost wonder if there's a version of this game that I'd appreciate more if they just did some Metroid nonsense and they stopped you from getting, you know what I mean? It was like, no, you gotta go to this one first or else you can't go over there.
Yeah, you're pretty much describing the old formula too. Like everything that started from Ocarina of Time and then up until Skyward Sword. That was pretty much how it was supposed to be in a Metroidvania, for better or for worse, in that sense. Because you were closed off. The path was closed off until you got an item, and then and then pretty much everything would open up from there.
Yeah.
And this new formula is purposefully avoiding that because, like, everyone complained about that. Not everyone, but people were starting to think
they want to find something new.
They want to try something new, yes. And I've thought that's what was going to happen because the Great Sky Island is very much like that. It's not like the Great Plateau where you can start off anywhere, go anywhere. The Sky Island sets you on a path because you're supposed to get these particular set of skills in order to continue on and then get off the Sky Island. But once you get on land, once you jump off, it's all like, all right, let's go anywhere we want. And I don't want to think we're getting too negative here with this game, because in the end, we still really enjoy it, and we're going to talk about the positives here in a second. But yeah, I agree with you, Jake. The game is kind of at war with itself in the whole, we want like absolute freedom, but at what cost?
Another way to kind of fix that issue, because a lot of that being at odds with itself really is in the form of the presentation behind the memories. And I think, other than, Impa giving you an order, I almost feel like just the idea of them not being accessible until after completing either all of the dungeons or one of the dungeons, like just making them only appear after a certain point, actually might have been part of the fix to that too. That I think they got a little too hung up on trying to make sure the game is open discoverability, just like Breath of the Wild, but cranked up even more. That I do kind of agree. I think it did slightly take away from it in that case, because these are still very great as they are. Like, what they are very great. But I think the exact way to get them, the exact presentation behind how you get to them and reach them, could have been done a little bit better to complement the gameplay rather than be at odds with it.
To kind of set our path more towards, Joey, what I think you were trying to push towards the positive end.
Yeah.
I think it's worth saying that, and I know we all feel this way. I've been trying and reflecting on what my like overall feelings are about the game, and I'll kind of, I think, save that for a future discussion. But I think it's worth saying that like this. Even if I could have 100 criticisms about this game, it's still better than like 99% of video games.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's just kind of how I feel about it. It's like, yeah, I can kind of like poke and say all these things that I don't like about it. Raru's voice, that wouldn't have been my choice. But
Really?
It's so boring. So generic fantasy person. Could you imagine if it was interesting? A novel idea. But the fact that this game, I think, especially on the Switch, runs as well as it does, and is successful in, I think, addressing a lot. Like, every time we see cutscenes in this game, it is exciting in a way that I don't think it was in Breath of the Wild. There's a dynamic something energy going on in this game. And I don't know about you, Joey, every time I see a shrine, I'm so excited.
Nice.
I don't know if I'm like shrine blind. Maybe this is like my color blindness coming up. Maybe I've got a problem. I am having such a hard time finding shrines, and we won't say it now, but before this call, I asked you if you knew how many there were. You told me, and I almost pooped myself. I was like, where are they?
Where?
Yeah, I get excited when I see a shrine only because I'm like, hey, fast travel point. But yeah.
Wait. There was one I really liked that I just did. I'm sure you've seen it. It's like the pinball one. Did you do this?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Oh my god,
Yes,
I love
no,
this
the-
one. Yeah, you
the
have to
pinball
like
was
make like a
fun.
little paddle and hit a spot. I was like, this is genius.
Oh wait,
There's another-
yeah. I've done that one. I've totally
Okay.
done that one. I think Andre cheesed that one in his live stream too.
Okay. And then there was another one I really liked where it's so simple, but you like make a little car and it pulls like a bridge behind it so that you can cross over the lava. I think the Ultra Hand is really like setting the shrines up to be successful in a way that I think a lot of the shrines in Breath of the Wild kind of like wanted this. They wanted that kind of, build your own little answer thing. But now with Ultra Hand, I feel like I'm really doing it in a way that it like feels so empowering and cool. And I love the shrines. Yeah.
I think that's really because so many of the shrines in Breath of the Wild relied on the Sheikah runes, like Magnesis and Stasis, and things that, for the most part, in the overworld were more situational in terms of when and where you use them. But now, you can use your abilities anywhere with almost anything. So every shrine feels like, here's another way you could do this if you haven't thought of it. And I like the majority of the shrines from what I've experienced at least. Majority of the shrines I like better in this than in Breath of the Wild.
Oh, yeah.
I did not dislike them in Breath of the Wild, but I'm really enjoying them in this one. With the exception of the ones of the combat shrines that take everything away from you, and they're like, good luck.
Those are
I
frustrating.
like those, but they're frustrating and they're long. So it's like, there's a lot of times where I'll unlock a shrine, I'll walk in, I'll see Link has no equipment, I go, no, I'm doing this one later. Mostly because I find it and I unlock it when I'm like, recording for a guide or like trying to do something for our content. I'm
Right.
like, I do not have the time for this shrine right now.
Seriously.
These take me like half an hour.
Hey, hope
Wow,
you liked Eventide Island because there's like 9 of those in this game.
I really like those shrines. I'm
No,
surprised.
I really like them. I do actually really like them.
Yeah.
It's just most of the times I've encountered them, it's a no, not right now. That's gonna take me half an hour to figure this
They're
out.
very
and I'm in the
time-consuming.
middle. Yeah, they're very time consuming. They are really satisfying to overcome though, because they really make you think outside the box and like really look at the resources that are all around you.
Yep.
Yeah, and honestly, that's almost like it's almost like a tailored experience in the way that I want some of the other stuff in the game to be. That it's like more directed, because sometimes when I'm in a combat encounter out in the world, I do feel maybe it's a little too. I can just pull out a bomb arrow and I can just, and I'm like, and there's nothing, Does anybody? Have either of you felt
I
that?
don't have a lot. I can never find bomb flowers that much. So
Oh my god, I'm swimming in them, Joe.
All right,
They
can you
spawn
give me some?
naturally in the depths and
Yeah.
in caves.
Yeah, I'm not in the caves or the depths that much.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel like every ability in this game is just infinitely more useful than the Sheikah Slate ability, the Sheikah runes. I thought I wasn't going to use recall that much. I use it all the time. All the time. I'm just like, oh, I need to get up there. Okay, I'm just gonna put you up in the air, this flat platform for like 5 seconds, drop you, and then recall you, hop on. It's such a. I feel like it's cheating when I use recall. I love Ascend too. That's such a simple but effective ability, which I believe was like a debug cheat one of the developers used in Breath of the Wild, and they're just like, hey, let's turn this into a game mechanic. And I'm like,
That's funny.
You're telling me I can leave a cave at any time now? Oh man, I thought climbing was super intuitive in Breath of the Wild. I'm just like, yes, you don't know how many times I play an open world game like Skyrim and I'm constantly jumping up a hill as I'm sliding down. Now I can just climb stuff. And now I hate climbing. I just want to ascend everything.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's I almost feel like it's making me I'm going after hearts because I don't need stamina as much. I'm like, stamina's for losers. I have vehicles and I have ascend, and so far I'm doing pretty good. So I've been going after hearts too, but yeah, Joey, I feel the same way. I look back at Breath of the Wild Sheikah rune things, and I'm like, these were for babies. And now I am a grown adult. a lot of what I've been thinking about Tears of the Kingdom as a whole has been, it feels like season 2. It's hard to compare it to Breath of the Wild because it feels like season 2 of a television show. And you would never, and you know, you wouldn't naturally be like, oh, what's better, season 1 or season 2?
It's like,
nah,
it's like Breath of the Wild was season 1 of The Office. And season 2 of The Office is Tears of the Kingdom. For those who don't know, 2 is significantly better than 1.
Thank you. I needed that. Okay. Tris, I want to ask you, as somebody that's enjoyed, because I haven't gotten too big of a taste of this, so I want you to wet my whistle a little bit. Okay. The story in comparison to other Zelda games, some of your favorite games of all time. Yeah. Is it delivering in a way that you feel is satisfying? You're like enjoying the story a lot, or is it like a secondary thing? Like how are you feeling about it?
So let me. I know we just had to start to compare to Breath of the Wild. Here's the easiest comparison to make.
Ooh, okay.
Breath of the Wild, so much of its story was self-contained. It was the memories are Link's past that sets up for the world. What's happening with the Zoras only affects what happens with the Zoras. What's happening with the Rito only affects what's happening with the Rito. And barely anyone really cared what was happening with Hyrule in general. Here in Tears of the Kingdom, everyone is invested and interested in what's happening in Hyrule. You have Zonai researchers going out and around exploring because, whoa, this piece of ruins just fell down. And hey, Link, catch me like all the way over there on the other side of the map sometime later because I'm going to go investigate this thing now. And then it fades to black and they're gone. You're like, wow, they're actually traveling. Like, the small level story is already interesting because people are invested in the world. But then the higher level stuff of character involvements, like, you go see what's happening with the Rito, and then while they're trying to figure out their problem, they're concerned with the problem you're bringing up to them. And they want to help your problem too. And it's a matter of this level of world involvement and the story ties to that are so strong in this game in ways that they weren't in Breath of the Wild. That I think really helps sell this world a lot more and call back to some of my favorite Zeldas, because a lot of my favorite Zeldas are the ones where, shocker, people care about what's happening in the world.
Exactly.
Like Wind Waker had like the whole Dragon Roost Island wanting to help you with what was going on. You had the Resistance in Twilight Princess being like, hey, something's wrong here. We're gonna try to help. And, you know, it's a toss-up depending on if the game actually executed it well or not. But I think here in Tears of the Kingdom, it's really like selling its world with the story so well. And I'm loving that part of it.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think the story for me, because story is one of my favorite parts of Zelda games when it's pulled off really well. I still don't think like it's the reason people play Zelda games, because you know that's like the gameplay for it. But like I loved Skyward Sword's story. Wind Waker's story was epic. Twilight Princess had such a tragically beautiful ending. Breath of the Wild story, weak AF, like just straight up. As for Tears of the Kingdom, I think it's better. I just don't think it's like still on the same level as those games yet. Maybe that'll change when I get to the end of it. But there is one moment, which I will not spoil, just jaw hit the floor. I was shocked. Triss knows what I'm talking about. Jake, you don't know what I'm talking about. But wow. It was nuts.
Am I anywhere close to it, or is this a long game?
I'll tell you after we're done.
Okay, all right. Small moments. Triss, I'm totally with you on that. It is so fun when I stroll into Hateno Village, and they're like, okay, listen, I make clothes based on mushrooms, and you're gonna spend the next half hour hearing about this. All right, because the local politics around this are insane.
So funny. It's so funny.
Everyone has an opinion on these mushroom clothes. This is affecting everyone's life, and now you are embroiled in a a mayoral race that is involved with it. And then this guy's over here and he's planting pumpkins and he's like, I gotta work with the genetic modifications of these pumpkins. I'm like, whoa. I love this stuff. This stuff is like really lighting me up because a lot of the main story stuff, I think like I'm really resistant to Link not talking this time around, and I think that's maybe driving a wedge between me and the main story of this game sometimes. I've seen people talk about like how great the intro sequence is out of the cave, which is the first thing in the game, so I feel comfortable talking about it. Yeah. But like Link getting this arm and just kind of like minutes later moving on with his life, I'm a little bit like, It's the most triple A video game I think I've ever seen from Nintendo, where you're on like a guided little walk with a secondary character following them. I'm like, what is this? Uncharted? Like, you know what I mean? It's like such a thing. And I think I really was like just disappointed that Link didn't talk in those moments, because sometimes people like act like Link is talking and we just don't hear it, and that kind of bums me out, and it's like a wall between
He talks
me and
when he
Link.
does this.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It is annoying.
Wait, is he doing that? I'm
Yes.
paying.
During moments in the game, they ask
Yeah.
you what happened, and then Link does this.
Oh.
So you're
Yeah,
telling me yada yada yada, and it's just like
Yeah.
it's getting kind of, and I know people are gonna like say, hey, you can't ever suggest Link talks. That's blasphemy. Link never talks. And all I have to say, I just played. This is totally out of left field. I just played Doom Eternal's expansion, The Ancient Gods. Doom guy never talks ever, right? He talked a little bit in the campaign, but that was during a flashback before he became Doom guy.
Okay.
And then at the end of the game, where he literally kills the devil. He's not called the devil, but he's the devil. The devil asks, do you have any last words for your creator? And then the Doom guy stabs him and goes, no. And I'm like, that was hype! He talked!
Oh my God, Joey, you're right. That's how you do it. Because it's like when I was listening to that album and Taylor Swift said her first cuss word. I was like, "Ah!" You know, it's like, get a moment for Link to say, hello, and I'm like, "Ah!"
Hear me out. That scene in the beginning, in the very beginning, when Zelda falls, how much more impactful would it have been if when he goes to jump after he calls her name?
Oh my God. Tris, that moment I was talking about where my jaw hit the floor, like, Link's supposed to have a reaction to this. He doesn't. He's just like, he looks at something and there's like no emotion in his face. Like it's getting kind of annoying. Like, and he's been expressive in games past. Wind Waker, he was his most expressive. So yeah, look at us. We're being negative again,
I definitely get what you mean. And like, I definitely think it would enhance a lot of moments, and I see why it takes away for a lot of people. I'm not personally bothered by it, though there's a couple times where I feel like it's humorous that like you just walk up to someone, small explanation, hit my mic, small explanation of what happened, and then they're just like, what? And then they basically restate what you would have said, and it's like, this is so funny. Like that's pretty funny.
Classic Zelda.
You literally nailed
like
it. The second you did that, I was like, oh my God, I've seen this so many times.
It is kind of funny that way. And the dialogue options even like are kind of funny too, because
I'm glad they still are.
Because he goes up to these guys who are like about to go into a monster cave, like butt naked, not literally, they're wearing underwear, and there's a dialogue option where he says, what are you doing? And I'm like, that's funny right there. It kind of gives us a hint. He was kind of like similar in Skyward Sword too, because there was a lot of dialogue options in that game, and he was kind of like this, I don't know about sarcastic, but you could tell he's kind of just like a dude where he's taking it all in. He's wondering like about characters and stuff. So I would kind of sarcastic in that sense. Like there's a dialogue option in Skyward Sword where he asks Impa, am I too late? Because Impa last time they met was like, you're too late.
No, I definitely get that. Breath of the Wild had a lot of that too. Like someone's just like, are you the hero? And your response is, I am he. Like Breath of the Wild had that. There were some good moments like that, but this game also has some really good ones. Like Jake, you mentioned Hateno Village, and I'll never forget like when I first walked into that village, and there's like the woman who's like sweeping in front of it, and she's like, oh, a random like, hold on, I have an idea to this random person. Here, take this egg. And she's like, never speak of it again. And you can just say like, how could I forget? And if you say it 3 times, she's like, I guess it's not working. I just wanted to romanticize giving an egg, but I guess that won't work. And it's like, what is like these people are like off the rails sometimes, but I love the reactions you can give. It's great.
I took a screenshot. I literally took a screenshot of that because when she said, you swept me off my feet so fast that I gave you one of my prized eggs, I was just like, fantastic. Excellent. excellent character.
Can I offer you a nice egg in this trying time? Stuff like that.
Have you both run into the monster parts guy?
Yes.
No, I haven't yet.
I have. Oh, you haven't. You need to.
Okay.
So you
that's the
haven't
first thing I'll do.
seen the new wrinkle to the Monster Parts guy?
No, I haven't.
I'll say no more.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, I think we're about done with this discussion, though. We're reaching like the 40-minute mark. So
Yeah.
Is there any final thoughts you have about Tears of the Kingdom? Because this is not the last discussion we're going to have about this
far
game.
from it.
You know we're going to all talk about it when we're all done with it in 2 years, because this game is super freaking long. It's crazy how like I feel like I did have to give that kind of spoiler warning at the beginning, because it's like, it's been a week, but I know people who've been playing this game since then who've probably have not gotten to a dungeon. Triss, have you only been to one dungeon?
I've only been to one dungeon so far.
Dang.
Yep.
That's crazy.
There's a lot to do in this game.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up, I have one fun, quick question for you guys, and it's specifically: have you both encountered the most terrifying villain or enemy in the game?
Hands.
I haven't seen
Yes.
it yet. I know what you're talking about. I saw our video
You've been
about
underground so much and you haven't found them? That's crazy.
it. No, but I will say, anytime something looked a little too out of my weight class, I just was like, no, I'm just
Fair.
getting the little light points. But yeah, as we're wrapping up, I think the thing that I'm like, that's like been on my mind lately, is that there's something about this game. Just running around, picking stuff up, going from thing to thing to thing, as an open world game that just works in a way that like, and I'm trying to figure out if it's like the Zelda iconography, if it's like the gameplay feel, what it is exactly. Same thing as Breath of the Wild. I just like doing it. And I think maybe it's like your rewards per minute is like a really good number. It's like, it like knows how to shoot me up with like, oh, there's a fun thing. There's a fun, like at a good pace.
Yeah.
And and here's the question I kind of want to pose to the audience is that I've been really wrestling with this. I think Tears of the Kingdom at the end of the day is probably a better game than Breath of the Wild, but I don't know if it's as important. I don't know if it's as special. And because I just don't have that same, I'm not playing this going, this is gonna change video games. This is gonna, every single video game developer is looking at this game right now, and this is, like, it's not quite giving me that swirl of a paradigm shift that Breath of the Wild did. And I think that that's okay. That's not a criticism. But that's just kind of the question that's been on my mind, and I'm curious what people out there think about that.
That is a great question, honestly, and I'll be very curious to like in a few years look back.
I
and,
know,
like,
Trent.
see
I
kind of
keep
moment.
thinking about that too. I'm like, what's the legacy gonna be like? It's so interesting.
I've heard people say like it's tough to go back to Breath of the Wild after they played Tears of the Kingdom, but at the same time, that doesn't mean Tears of the Kingdom is more impactful. Breath of the Wild represented a huge shift in like Zelda and games in general. And I know people hate it when we call games Breath of the Wild clones, but let's be real. When a game like Immortals Phoenix Rising has climbing, gliding, and stamina, it's taking huge inspiration from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And we're going to see a lot more games like that, for better or for worse. And Tears of the Kingdom, even though it improves on a lot of the things Breath of the Wild did, it's not going to have that same impact because it's a continuation of that already impactful game. And like you said, Jake, that's perfectly fine.
Yep.
Nintendo wasn't looking to reinvent the wheel again with Zelda. They were looking to expand upon what made Breath of the Wild great. And in that sense, might have made Breath of the Wild really hard to go back to for most people.
There's an argument to be made though. It's got the crafting, it's got the Ultra Head, it's got the recall, it's got all this stuff. I need more time with it.
Yeah.
But
So do I.
I think we all do. I bet everybody out there still does too. This is probably fun to listen to while like running around in Hyrule. You know what I
hope
mean?
so.
I hope
yes.
people are doing that. But and finally, last thing I want to say, and then Joey, please wrap it up. Please stop lighting your Koroks on fire. I like them.
Please.
And they're sweet.
Please.
They're sweet little guys. They don't deserve that. It's
They
not.
don't.
The Korok challenges are good. Koroks are sweet. And Hestu, that's like a top 3 Zelda character.
I love his animation in this
Yes!
game. His little dance, his whole little performance this time, it's so good. I didn't think they would top the silliness of it in Breath of the Wild. But no, it's so good in this one. It's so
Stop
good.
lighting them on fire.
This has been a PSA.